Up, everybody? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. This episode, like all of them, brought to you by Off the Record. We love Off the Record. I got 3 more emails this week from people who used Off the Record to save their little backsides in a court of law. Off the Record is a service that, were you to get a moving violation, big or small, connects you with an attorney in the jurisdiction where you got that ticket. Then they go to work on your behalf and they do everything they can to get those points off your record, or not on it in the first place, really. Man, they cover almost all of the U.S. and they have an unbelievable track record of getting people out of little sticky situations with their cars. Download the app and use code TSTPOD for 10% off all legal services with Off the Record. And if you prefer the web, go to offtherecord.com/TST. You'll get that same 10% off all legal services booked through Off the Record. Don't plead guilty. This, in fact, I swear, I've used Off the Record a whole bunch of times. I swear it is easier, faster, more efficient, and cheaper, and with much better outcomes to use Off the Record than just to plead guilty. It's all of everything about getting a ticket is improved with Off the Record. Use code TSTPOD on the app or offtherecord.com/TST on the web. We love you, Off the Record. Thank you for sponsoring our little program here. And I are in the studio instead of off-roading the Rivian because wind conditions canceled that and we'll have to do it another day. So we're talking about all kind of stuff. We're talking about why touchscreens and EVs are a turnoff to people that are into tactile machinery and goods. We're talking about a company that wants me to outsource myself to AI. What? We're talking about some new events I'm doing with Road and Track. We have an update on my Porsche Boxster, and I am strongly considering a fun new experiment once the Bentley project ends. It's a cruise show. Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. And I really do like my stone paper, even though I can't use the fancy fountain pens on it anymore.
How do you feel about spiral notebooks?
Nah. Okay. I don't like. I've seen.
These are just custom exterior.
I know people who love a spiral because they like to be able to tear a page out. Mm-hmm. I'm not much of a tear a page outer one, and I really like the sort of semi-luxury feeling of a leatherette type cover.
Yeah, I get it.
The texture of the shit that's in my hands all the time. It could be a phone, a pen, a laptop, a steering wheel, a guitar. A keyboard, a fucking tennis racket or a golf club or anything that's in my hands all the time. The way it feels in my hands is extremely important.
Yeah, for sure.
Not so much other people for sure. I mean, there's the mechanical keyboard freaks, and there's like people who, pay all kinds of money to have custom stuff made around their hands. Mm-hmm. Guns or fucking golf grips or whatever. But notebooks is an important one to me.
Makes sense. But you use yours every day.
All day.
The time.
All day, every day.
And I think, and also, like, you're very into tactile things like watches and cars. Like, that part of your brain is developed because of paying attention to
those
like cars
type of
and
things.
things.
Yeah.
So I think you notice things other people might not.
Which I had a thought the other day about, like, because I went on Spike's podcast. And we spent a lot of it talking about EVs and Rivian and stuff like that. Because Spike had the same red Rivian that we had right before, the day before we got it. And, they asked what I thought. And I was a bit of a fucking Debbie Downer about EV SUVs. And part, part of it was that I think things are getting too big and too heavy. And it's frustrating because there's a lot of things I really like about this Rivian. I don't like the size of it. I don't like the weight of it. And I don't like that everything else has to be so built up to handle the size and the weight of it. So I think this company, when we get to that R3 thing, that'll be a hell of a car. We have a full review of the R1S coming. But I felt so down on EVs, on electric cars and touchscreens. And I was like, God, why? I was trying to think, like, is there something wrong with me? People seem to be excited about stuff like this. Like,
Are they?
I mean, I don't know.
Like, I think
general buying public is. The general buying public sees touchscreens as good.
I don't know. I think, but there's that pushback in Europe. Like, they're starting to add regulations to add more buttons back in and remove touchscreens. Like, the science is backing up what we think subjectively. And maybe I would be curious to talk to someone in the public who has bought back-to-back cars over, let's say, 5 years that have touchscreens. Because I think when people initially see them, they get excited because we go, ooh, fancy, it's a screen, it's like my computer, it's a future. Yeah. And then when they actually use it, do they actually like it more than having some buttons for things?
Yeah, I don't. And I really don't like all touchscreen. And I was thinking about this because I was like, what is it about this that I don't like? It's not just that it's more distracting than buttons. And I was really thinking about the tactile feel of cars, watches, sailing, machinery, ropes, pulleys, gears, levers, and how much I enjoy all of that. And how the car being a digital device first and a tactile thing second is just such a disappointing thing from someone who loves tactile things.
Right.
That's, I think, what I want is an Ineos, but that isn't that far into old school cosplaying. Like, give me the buttons and the little screen that just does the basics. But give me the ride quality of the Rivian in comfort mode. Just make it a fucking toggle, high, medium, low. Like the same suspension, just controlled by a fucking lever. It could be done. It could totally be done. It would just cost more money.
Right. It would. That's exactly it. Because they have so much of the control is in the computer.
Yeah.
And it's easier to control that with control the ride system, I think, with a computer talking to it instead of having a switch do it. Or maybe it's more nuanced. I don't know.
Yeah. You know what we really need to fucking get rid of is computer-controlled vents.
That is super fucking dumb. You have to use a
touch screen to adjust your vents.
That is so stupid.
God, what an awful thing.
What a slow thing to do. And there's no way, this is my assumption, look, the thing I said about the toggle switches, it's probably just as simple to do that. But adding a vent control by a motor, so now every vent has a motor to direct the air versus the plastic things break after 15 years.
Yeah.
And that's very simple.
Yeah.
How long are those motors going to last? And it's not providing, in my opinion, a helpful thing that is more complicated, yes, but I like the effect or the result.
Yeah.
It's worse in every way.
So 100%. So there's this weird dichotomy happening in my head of missing tactile things, hoping that maybe the industry will come back towards it, being sort of upset at the fact that if you want tactile things, you have to now buy an ultra luxury car.
Right.
You really can't. You have to buy either like a real cheap car, like a fairly terrible car, or a Pagani. Or something that's $1 million, or start maybe with a Bentley. You have to get Bentley, $400,000 to get levers and real buttons for stuff.
Yeah, I'm thinking about how, like, an invention, something is invented, and then over a long enough timeline, it goes from being rare and expensive to mass-produced, cheaper. And then there are people that long for the way it used to be built.
Dude, record players,
film cameras, whatever.
Yeah.
And so if you want the wood gun, you got to spend more money to get that versus getting something that's made of plastic.
Dude, there are very few low-income people shooting film right now.
Of course.
It's a luxury to shoot film using a mechanical camera. And that's kind of like, it's not a perfect analogy because, for most people, digital photography is actually better than film. But it's that analog process becoming the luxury that there were records, same thing. Making coffee. Everybody's got an espresso. Everyone's got.
They're not good.
But if you really care about coffee, you're doing the analog thing,
right?
It's that kind of thing. But it's a bummer that it's one thing. It's like, all right, you want 1,000 horsepower, it should be expensive. You want whale penis, fucking, it should be expensive. But like, it shouldn't be 8 and 9 figure incomes and net worths to get tactile feeling in your cars. That shouldn't be the way that the world goes.
Now, another question would be ask someone who's 16 or 22 if they are more into a car that has tactile things.
I had, shout out to him, a conversation yesterday with my nephew Cole, who is 16 and now has a learner's permit. And Cole's parents are cool, nice, great family. You know them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And Cole hits me up, as one does with their cool uncle, and says, I want a K-truck. Tell me about them.
Whoa.
So he is, he's on his phone a lot. He's got an Apple Watch, and he plays video games, and he is a digital fucking youth, right? Fully integrated digital youth. We talk about Twitch, and we talk about YouTube, and we talk about all the different stuff that's going on in the online world, much more than we talk about cars. But he wants a K-truck. And I pretty much had to talk him out of it because I said, look, these things are fucking rad. Good for you for liking this. And I said, when you and your dad, I said, they're cheap enough that, like, get a regular car, just get some whatever car to use as a car. But, like, maybe you and your dad want to buy one as, like, a fuck around, customize it or wrench on it. Because he expressed interest in wrenching. So, granted, sample size of 1, but I just happened to have had this phone call yesterday, and he had no interest. He wanted a tiny, little, efficient, cute Japanese truck.
All right.
That, by the way, because he lives in Georgia, his state has explicitly banned.
Georgia banned them?
He lives in one of the states that has banned K-trucks.
Wow.
Because they say they're unsafe on the highway.
Yeah.
But 25 years exempt. They're exempt from, all the regulations. They've been singled out by politicians. I think this is sort of a new. I mean, here's possible conspiracy theory incoming. I think this is like a new sort of side sphere of the chicken tax that happened in the 80s. In the 80s, we had this. The Japanese came out with these very fuel efficient pickup trucks, the original 4Runner and became the Tacoma and then the hard body. People wanted those. The Americans couldn't compete, and so they changed the tax code to essentially favor those trucks. This is now the rule that is abused so that realtors can write off their fucking G-Wagons.
Right.
It's the over 6,000 pound gross vehicle weight. The sort of persecution of K trucks specifically. They're not saying all JDM imported vehicles. They're saying K-trucks. Now, a K-truck may be more dangerous to the driver because it doesn't have safety features, but it's certainly less dangerous in a liability perspective to whatever you hit than almost any other modern car on the road.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's how they measured, I think. Because we looked up once who was behind the lobbying effort, and one of the biggest donors was like an insurance consortium. Mm-hmm. So it may be... and this will be my speculation, it may be that either the cost to repair them is like your Delica, where it's like this weird car, if it gets hit, it's going to it's going to be very damaged. And to repair it, this weird foreign car is going to be too expensive, and the insurance companies don't want to deal with it. Or if someone's driving it, like Cole or someone else, if they get in an accident, they could be very hurt versus another passenger vehicle. But it also may benefit domestic truck producers who make small pickup trucks and don't want money going to outside competitors.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a small enough volume that it's not, Ford doesn't give a shit. The manufacturers don't care. You're talking about 1,000 K trucks a year or something. The insurance thing, I don't think that necessarily tracks because the number of people that have been in crashes and or died in K-trucks can't be that high. It just can't.
It's probably a very small number, but I mean, I could find it again. I'm not saying the primary donor for that lobbying effort was these insurance things, and so I wonder if it's maybe because we're enthusiasts, it smells like something else is going on.
Right, but even if it is an insurance issue, you could say as an insurance company, we refuse to cover these.
True.
That's fucking capitalism.
Yeah.
You can choose how and who to offer your services to. You don't need to get the government to ban them, to not just ban them, but they were revoking people's registrations for existing owners.
It does seem extreme.
It does. So originally when Cole called me, it was, I'm going to get a K-Truck. How do I register it in Georgia? And I was like, well, your Uncle Matt has a fucking house in South Carolina. We could talk right across the border if you want to come over for dinner.
Everyone can register everything there.
But yeah, I mean, it's I think there are a lot. I mean, look, every racetrack country club I go to, all of them, Monticello, the one in my Concourse Club in Miami, the Thermal Club. You know what? These guys have fleets of like Honda Acties and little K trucks and vans. They've got like a 10-pack of them that are just running all over the property doing, basic utility work. Like, I'm not saying that if you're a contractor or a fucking farmer that you shouldn't use a pickup truck because that's the best tool for the job. But a lot of times these little K trucks have, as close as makes no difference, the same size bed as a half-ton truck.
Yeah, for a smaller footprint.
And they get 50 miles a gallon, and they last 1,000 years, and they don't weigh anything, and they don't go through consumables, and so.
Here
but
we go.
What do you got?
This is an article from The Drive. From a few months ago, but basically...
Oh, right. Yeah, I remember looking at this.
So this is the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators is the organization behind the effort to get these banned, citing, as you said. Their quote was like, it was amazing. These vehicles pose an immediate threat to public safety.
They absolutely do not.
Especially when you consider AAA, Accenture, Clear, Amazon.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch of them, but it's a bunch of insurance companies, Carvana. I mean, it's a lot of donors.
I mean, look, there's probably a bunch of people in this giant list of 100-something companies that are, for one reason or another, mildly annoyed by K-Trucks, right?
Yeah.
AAA doesn't want to register them. Blah, 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 doesn't want to insure them. Fucking whatever chain of body shops is on here doesn't want to repair them. And whatever OEM is on there is going, we don't really want people finding out that cheap...
No OEMs donated to this, so I was wrong on that.
All right.
But you make a great point. Like, why the big stink about it? It seems like
it's probably not a big stink. It's probably a tiny little stink from 5 or 6 of these companies' members. Someone writes a petition. They go, hey, everybody sign this. And they sign it. And
seems unnecessary.
It's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Who is a K-Truck bothering? I mean, that's insane. It's a tiny little fucking thing.
Especially... I mean, if you drive a 60s muscle car, like, you do not want to get in an accident in that vehicle. Or any old cab-over truck.
Sure.
I mean, you might be going through that windshield. Like, I don't know if they're less or more safe than that.
There are endless types of vehicles that are on the road that are much more dangerous to their drivers or operators and also to the general public outside of the, I'm a firm believer that if what you're doing on the road is affecting others outside of your car, then now let's regulate it. If it's what's happening inside your car, and I understand why seatbelt laws are a thing. You don't want people dying, but other than seatbelt law, which I don't buckle my seatbelt because it's the law. I do it because the fucking thing chimes at me, and because it's the right thing to do because you might die. But whatever's happening inside the car, if that doesn't bother anything outside the car, I think it should be pretty much fair game. I
was away last weekend, as you know, and I was riding in a car with a bunch of friends. And one of our friends, I looked over and saw his seatbelt wasn't on in the back seat. And I was like, why aren't you wearing your seatbelt? And he's just like, if it's my time, it's my time. And I was like, absolutely not. And this was a... smart, family guy, a really kind person, and I was like, bro, Seatbelts will literally save your life. That will determine the difference. And I was like, also, if we get hit and you fly into me, I'll be really upset.
If you were a 200-pound projectile.
He is a 210-pound projectile.
Yeah, that's not good.
I'm not about to die because of that.
A girl I dated in high school. Guys, got to take a quick break because today's episode is brought to you by NordVPN. Oh boy, do I love NordVPN, and I'm so happy to have them back. Online privacy and security has never been more important, and the details of what you do on the internet and where you're doing it from need to be yours alone. I wish there was a VPN for connected cars, actually, but at least we have one for our phones, our mobile, digital devices, and computers. You've got to be on a VPN when using the internet, and Nord is the best one. It's more than just the VPN itself. It's a complete system to keep your data on the internet protected. Nord comes with features like Threat Protection Pro, which offers advanced protection from malware, phishing scams, and other online threats. Are you downloading a file? Threat Protection Pro checks if it's malware. Clicking a link, Threat Protection Pro blocks websites that are fake, malicious, or used for phishing, fraud, or scams. Annoyed by pop-ups constantly flooding your screen? Threat Protection Pro blocks ads for a smooth browsing experience. Online shopping? You shop online, so do we all. Don't pretend you don't. Falling for a fake shopping scam designed to mimic legitimate outlets. There's plenty of websites luring in the unwary with promises of discounts or rare items. But guess what? Regular VPNs don't protect you against fake web stores, but Threat Protection Pro does. In fact, NordVPN was ranked third in AV Comparative's Fake Shop Detection Test in 2024, beating many other premium cybersecurity tools. So, go to HTTPS or hit the link in the description, but also HTTPS NordVPN.com/TST. That's NordVPN.com/TST. And then use code TST to get a 2-year plan plus 4 additional months with a huge discount. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. That's code TST at NordVPN.com/TST. 30-day money-back guarantee. And thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring today's episode. Let's get back to it. Was incredibly smart. She went to the school in New York City called Stuyvesant that was like the school for geniuses. It was like that was that school. And she was a genius within that. She was like, at that time, one of the smartest people I'd ever met. She wouldn't wear a seatbelt in the car. And I asked her why. And it was because her father had gotten into a car accident. He didn't wear his seatbelt either. And in this one particular case, got into an accident. And had he been wearing his seatbelt, it could have trapped him.
Was he Fangio?
I mean, basically, kind of. Yeah, it didn't make any sense. But to her, and think about as humans, how many times one anecdote, even if it goes well against the data, will inform your behavior.
Right.
I mean, I use this argument all the time. People get mad. The data says, if you keep a gun in your house, the likelihood of that gun killing somebody goes way up.
True.
And there are other potential trade-offs of that, right? If there is a home invasion, you don't have a gun versus you do. But if you live with somebody that maybe suffers from depression, that could go or a child or what that could go a whole other fucking number of ways in which someone winds up hurt or dead.
Right.
That's what the math says will happen. Versus, my uncle's friend's cousin. There was a home invasion, or wants a K truck. Yeah, exactly. My math on that K truck thing is deeply incomplete.
No, but look, this young woman had a traumatic experience, which is going to lodge in her brain,
right? And
it worked out for her dad. And to get someone to change that kind of their mind about something like that, is going to be really hard.
Same thing with COVID vaccines. A couple of people, percentage-wise, did have adverse reactions to that and other vaccines.
Yeah.
The math says your odds are much better against COVID with the vaccines. I'm playing the math on that one. I'm playing the math on not keeping a gun in my house. I'm playing the math on what I do in the car.
Mm-hmm.
So other people, I try to do it, and obviously as a human, a traumatic or otherwise poignant experience, personal, could inform my opinion about my behavior. But I really try to let the math inform how I handle those types of things.
Yeah, I think you're fortunate if you've never had a situation like she had where it's so poignant and so traumatic that I think that allows, a person to like look at the data a little bit more objectively.
Yeah. I had a friend, right after college, I had a friend die who wasn't wearing a seatbelt and was driving a 1992 Ford Thunderbird down the FDR Drive in New York City in the rain and hit a stopped car.
Ooh.
And you talk about a 200-pound projectile.
Yep.
If this dude was 310, that would be a compliment. I mean, he was in the low threes.
Wow.
And ended up about 80 feet from his car.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like,
it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
I mean, if you want to go online, you can watch like a crash test dummy footage because you think people will be like, well, I'm strong, I can hold myself in, or I'll just hit the wheel. It's like, no. Like, I was shocked the first time I watched it on YouTube, and the way that, like, granted it's a dummy, but like the dummy just folded.
Yeah.
It's path of least resistance.
Yeah.
You are water going down the creek and around the rocks, and it's like over the wheel, through the dashboard,
and out.
Javelin.
Yeah,
out.
Yeah.
I did have a fun perspective on that same trip. I got to ride with myself and hear myself talk.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Exactly. You'll get it in a second. So my buddy Michel was borrowing his friend's 335.
Do you have a ghost car?
No, he's borrowing his friend's 335, and he's very excited about it. He wanted to take me for a ride and showed me this turbocharged car that's tuned up. Great. So we hop in the car to go pick up dinner, and we're driving, and I see check engine lights turn on, and I'm like, Michel, like what's up with these check engine lights? And he was like, it's nothing. And he started just saying excuses, and he's like, and look, it still feels fine. And then another light turned on.
No.
And I was like, dude, now we have a transmission light. He's like, yeah, but it's fine. It's because of the tune. And I'm sitting there going, I'm watching myself justify BMW ownership.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I've seen other friends do it, but I was in the car watching it happen in real time.
Funny.
I felt like Sarah. Like, this is what she gets to listen to.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
I want to talk about seeing yourself, but real quick, just an update. I talked last cruise show about my gear indicator in the Porsche was being funky. Mm-hmm. A couple of very helpful fans DM'd me. There's apparently a gear position sensor plugs into the car. Apparently, it can get some gunk and shit in there, whatever. Unplug it, clean the contacts, replug it, good to go.
Oh.
Nothing else, no other notes.
Do you have to take it to the shop? They do that?
A shop probably. You have to put the car in a lift to do it.
Okay,
but like, but it's like, it hasn't come back. It just did it the one time. And B, if it does, that's the solve.
Great.
But you were talking about seeing yourself. I got an email, which I forwarded to you. Mm-hmm. This creeps me the fuck out, dude. Yeah. Now I get a lot of trash emails from random like Chinese companies and shit. And I mean, not that there's anything specifically bad about Chinese companies, but like just bad English translations of Xiaoming company would love to work with you on integration. And so I get a dozen of these garbage ones a day. So when one is like written by a regular person, I usually read it. So this email came in. It says USC founder looking for Matt's advice. It's a real email, and I'm not going to say what the company. Should I say what the company is? Nah, I'm not going to say what the company is. My name is blah 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 blah, founder and CEO of blah 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 AI. Okay, the company it's something AI. I followed you and I'm a fan. Blank 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 AI is expanding rapidly, and we're now working with heads of state, Nobel laureates, and Fortune 500 companies. Given how much you inspired this journey, which thank you for the compliment if that's true, I'd be incredibly grateful if you could spare a few minutes to chat. Now, here's what they do. We create, and my blood turned to ice when I read this. We create AI digital twins of thought leaders, allowing people to engage directly with their ideas 24/7. Current partners range from multinationals to legends like Richard Dawkins and Robin Sharma. I don't know who Robin Sharma is, but I know who Richard Dawkins is. We lead the industry, and I think you'd be very interested in our work. Let me know if you have time to talk. This sir, sounds horrible. Imagine something that people thought they were engaging with you, but it was really like a bad chatbot version of you. And oh, by the way, I have to let you scrape every bit of content we've ever made. Like, I've said so many wrong things on the show, and when in the scraping, they're not going to find the correction that happened the next episode and apply that to the wrong thing I fucking said.
Right.
Like, someone, did I tell you the other day? I think I did. I was talking about AI. Maybe when Doug was here, that I said someone put into AI, what system does the smoking tire use for podcasting? And they put it into Chat GPT. They wanted to find out literally what our gear was.
Okay.
And they got the answer. It was a very detailed paragraph explaining the gear that we use to make this show. Confidently, detailed explaining. 100% wrong. All of it was wrong. None of it was right. The cameras were wrong. The software was wrong. All of it was wrong.
That's why I was shocked when I went in Thanksgiving. A number of my cousins, well, one of them specifically, used Chat GPT to answer lots of things. They were treating it like Google, and just trusting it. I know we've talked about this before, but
now that they've integrated it into Google search,
I hate that. I just scroll past it. But they were just sending it in, asking, and just going with it. And this is such a simple thing because we have described on this show numerous times exactly what the words are.
For the record, it's Switcher. It's called Switcher.
SwitcherCast, Switcher Studio.
Yes.
We use iPhones. You can see them in some of the shots. Seems real simple. But for whatever reason, it just got it super wrong.
Yeah. So, I don't want someone doing that in my fucking name.
Well, but also, if it chatbot or if it starts to make your face or something, this is all just going to be so bad.
That's just
be so
heinous.
Bad. Yeah.
Imagine setting up a cameo, but it's not you.
I just I don't know if it's an 8. Maybe if I was 12, I might get excited to talk to fake Mr. T. But
that's crazy.
If they go, oh, you can pretend you're talking to a thought leader, but it's not the person.
Yeah,
it's not their brain.
Yeah,
it won't feel special. If you're a huge Neil deGrasse Tyson fan, right, or which I am, or Jon Stewart. To sit and talk to those people would be one of the greatest moments of my life.
To sit and talk to a Jon Stewart chatbot is so not
That's
that.
worse than just watching the show, which I like and I know is authentic.
Yeah.
Watching a fraudulent version.
Yeah, you're getting
what am I doing?
A jumbled version of thoughts collected from him throughout 30 years of television that aren't put together in a coherent way.
That seems very strange.
That seems extremely suspect.
It's you're turning each person into Google of their brain. And trying to get the answers to whatever your questions are.
Yeah. So, okay. One other thing. Someone who is it didn't want to be identified, but is someone who works in the automotive industry for a big OEM, and who is a patron and regularly sends me sort of DMs on sort of deep engineering type stuff that when it related to whatever we're talking about that week, and asks to not be named, but is willing to share some insights. And so this person said, be careful. We were talking in reference to Kyle's appearance last episode. And being very impressed with the Xiaomi, the very fast Chinese EV that sort of looks vaguely Taycan-like. It's apparently actually manufactured by another company under the Xiaomi brand.
That makes sense.
And he said, actually, you want to be quite careful because although the Chinese technology, their batteries, their charging, some of their software stuff is really, really good. He said, in his experience, they will literally just say anything about the car. They'll just say it has 1,500 horsepower, and maybe it's got 800, so it feels fast, but 815. And those brakes, he was that is not uncommon.
Wow.
That they'll put something that looks like a big brake, but no one in China is actually going to figure that out because they're just sitting in traffic or whatever.
It'd be interesting, to go jump, let's say 10 years ahead, maybe even just 5 years ahead. God forbid there is a situation where there's a big recall is needed, because they're selling a lot of BYD cars in Mexico. And this is total speculation. I'm not trying to offend BYD, but let's just say a new Chinese automaker builds cars that have a flaw based on something like this. The brakes are overrepresented and causes a lot of accidents. I wonder what the repercussions legally can be, because China is notoriously hard to sue for copyright infringement.
Yeah, you'd have to sue their North American importer or some shit. But yeah, they probably wouldn't. You wouldn't be able to collect much.
I don't know, maybe.
My guess.
I'm not a lawyer, but that's just something I randomly thought about.
But anyway, he basically says, he basically said, and again, this is a person who in the past has demonstrated some very detailed information about working inside the industry. But he said he was in the cell phone industry before being in the car industry, and he saw it with specifically Xiaomi phones, because that's what they were making, that they would just say these phones were going to do stuff that they just
phones.
That they just wouldn't do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
okay.
So he's like, you should, be excited about certain aspects of what they're selling over there, but also be pretty skeptical about any direct claims that they make. Guys, we got to take one more quick break for Aura frames. These things are so cool. Everybody in your family is not a technophile like Genius You, who listens to the Smoking Tire podcast. Let's just say your parents, right? Your uncle, they're older. They don't necessarily know how, Dropbox works per se, or things like that. Complicated file sharing systems. Here's what you do. You get the Aura frame, you send it to a person you love, and then you can upload unlimited photos and videos directly from your phone to that Aura frame, right? So you got kids, you want to send those photos to the grandparents, the uncles, etc. Aura frames is it. You just send them the frame, they set it up in their living room, and then photos of the kids just start coming in because you're dropping them in there. These are great holiday gifts. They make it easy to bring people closer together and keep up with the old ones, keep up with the young ones, keep up with the pets. We should do a Patreon, or we should do an Aura Frames Patreon.
We could do that. Make the Google Photos account and let them just go.
We should talk to Aura Frames and see if people buy, if patrons at a level get their own TST Aura frame. It's like a fully private Instagram, but in your house and not on Instagram.
And we upload the photos.
Yeah, we put photos,
safer.
BTS photos in this. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea. We should talk to Aura Frames about this. Save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com and get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames by using promo code TIRE at checkout. That's AURA frames.com, promo code TIRE. This deal is exclusive to listeners, so get yours now in time for the holidays. Terms and conditions apply. And now, back to the show.
Don't trust, verify.
Well, he said when they bring these cars to America and people like us drive them, we go, oh my God, look at what you're getting for so little money. They're so far ahead of us over there, but they're not letting, they're not bringing it to lightning lap,
right.
And they're not letting Fensky go, he
would be able to determine the actual horsepower number.
And Kyle and Doug,
they're
smart people. It's not like they're fucking rubes. They're smart guys, but they're not doing deep dives into what's behind the curtain with those type of vehicles.
Yeah.
So, wow. So that was one thing. But I have to say, after our conversation with Kyle, I started looking at used Taycans, because the question is, these things you probably don't want a 20 or a 21.
Yeah.
But a 22, still under factory warranty, eligible for the long extended warranty. So I could buy one of these things massively depreciated and have most of a decade of warranty coverage left.
Yeah.
And so the cheapest Cross Turismo in the country is around $66,000.
What website was that on?
I found it on Auto Tempest.
Okay.
The cheapest was around $66,000. The cheapest 2022 Taycan I found, which were like rear drive short range cars, are like 54. Now, a rear drive short range car driven conservatively can still get 250 miles on a charge. which is
not bad.
Which is not bad. But there's like a $5,000 premium on the long-range cars, and there's very few rear-wheel drive long-range cars. Most people that wanted the longer range just bumped up to the 4S, which has the longer range, rather than getting a rear drive long range. So there's very few rear drive long ranges. So you can, I mean, there's some of these so some of these are in like the regular Taycan rear drives are in the high 40s or low 50s. But like you're talking silver, white, you know, stuff like that, and with a bunch of miles. I found one, and I don't want to say which one it was. I found one in a color that I liked, with pretty low miles.
You did.
The one I sent you.
Yeah.
And it had like, I think it was like 14,000 miles on it. And it was a base, rear-wheel drive, small motor base in a color I liked. And it was listed for $60,000, certified pre-owned. Now this would have had it had an original MSRP of about $106,000. So it's depreciated 40% in 14,000 miles. Will it continue to go down? Yes, absolutely. It most certainly will go down. But it's warranty. So unlike the Bentley, where it was like, well, let's see what breaks and what it costs to fix. This is, let's see how many days it spends in the shop if it breaks, and let's see what 2 years of depreciation looks like. That's sort
I'm
of the
excited.
experiment.
I like this idea because we've talked a lot about this, and you have theorized that the floor of EVs, used EVs, could just be zero.
It potentially is zero.
And I think it's an interesting experiment to see if it really is, because there's plenty of cars out there that we will think are bad when they're new, and then they have 150,000 miles, and you're like, wow, who would buy this? Someone needs a car, And if the Taycan actually turns out to be fairly reliable, you are getting a really nice car. Like there's plenty of people, I'm one of them, who buys used German cars or used luxury cars thinking, well, we're getting all the benefits for half the price, we have to pay for maintenance. But because electric cars have fewer systems, at least in terms of the motor, if that ends up being reliable and then the screens end up being a little bit less, it might
There's
actually
a lot of
have
other
less
electrical
stuff.
shit.
There's a lot in those cars for sure. I think it's a good experiment to see how reliable are, complicated luxury cars over 10 years, EVs specifically.
Well, yeah, and it's like these Taycans are so depreciated, in part because people don't trust them, right? Mm-hmm. People don't trust a used EV. And both because the depreciation could be zero and because out of warranty reliability scares them. But and truth be told, it's weird because if you want to do an experiment and you want to do something that viewers might engage with, typically that's going to be something that's miserable for the person doing it. Like the better TV is the car breaks all the time, right? Top Gear is better when the hosts are miserable than when they're happy, etc. But I don't actually want to be miserable doing this. I actually do want a car that my wife, regular ass person, can drive around. Now, if it breaks, we have other cars. Fine. But
But the goal of this is to get away from something like the Bentley. You have a lot of very interesting cars, but if none of them are trusted to just hop in and go. So
I actually want the car to work.
Yeah.
I want to do this. I want to get a car like this and go, actually, a 2-year-old Taycan at half price is a fantastic bargain. Wouldn't that be nice? Mm-hmm. And then other people can go, oh shit, that actually is. But like Kyle said, Taycan content doesn't do that good on them. So what is a car that would be nice to drive around every day and does well enough content-wise that it's worth trying this with?
EV specifically.
I mean, ideally, I would
agree.
like to have a daily EV. Is it buying a
Hummer?
Oh God! Well, that's how you end up being miserable.
That's true,
right?
It's so loud on the highway.
Yeah.
Well, our audience has responded well to Taycan content. Out of all the EVs, granted, Porsche also made the most Hyundai hasn't made 15 different versions of Ioniq 5 yet.
Yeah.
So
I think
our audience likes that car
and
more
would
than other
probably
EVs.
respond well
And would
to
respond
used Taycan content.
For sure. Half of our questions are always about used cars and what people should get. So I think it's a good experiment.
Are there a solid number of people watching live right now? Probably not very many because it's a
there's a decent number, yeah.
If you're in the YouTube live, throw in a comment. Do you want to see used content or used Taycan content? Is that the kind of thing you'd find interesting to find out whether a half-price Taycan is a good buy?
Even if you're watching after this is posted, because this goes up tomorrow, let us know in the comments if you're interested in that kind of thing. Oh, and if you're interested in buying used EVs at all. Like, that's another thing I'm curious about. Because the leasing deals are so good, but they're still not really as cheap at, Fiat 500 in Colorado aside, as getting a used car.
Yeah, but like Taycans are really nice, and it even a base Taycan does feel like a six-figure driving experience.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Can you get that for less money?
Yeah, my time I drove that Taycan GTS, the new one in Georgia, and there probably won't be a video. It's such a short drive, but what a fantastic, impressive thing. Yeah. It's just such a great car.
But you can get 90% of that in the base rear-wheel drive car. And actually, I think the base rear-wheel drive car has the best steering. Because when you unburden it from power, the steering gets light and very direct. It's a really, really nice thing. Yeah.
What do you mean unburden it from power?
Well, like, when you have torque going to the front tires... that affects
rear-wheel drive versus all-wheel.
Yeah, that affects what happens in the steering wheel. So the same with the Mach-E. Remember my fucking rear drive car steered better than all the other ones?
Yeah,
same shit.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that car had really good steering.
It's interesting because this is like the same price as a Mach-E Rally.
Yeah.
So, but I think this is a more interesting experiment.
The Mach-E Rally has a great party trick. But I think this is probably a more interesting experiment.
Well, yeah, because ultimately the Mach-E Rally is the car you had, but with a better ride.
Yeah.
And how often are you going to take your daily to the dirt? Never.
Very.
So that's like one story. But this thing will be ongoing, and people will be paying attention every month, wondering what's happening. Just like the Bentley, it's the Bentley formula.
Yeah.
But with an EV that has a warranty.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm willing to roll the dice on depreciation if I also don't have to pay if it breaks. You know what I mean?
A lot of people support this.
A lot of people support
this.
Okay. Support used.
We had one vote for Mach-E Rally, and then there's like 6 for Taycan.
Yeah.
Or and used EV content in general.
Okay.
Someone said the most entertaining thing would be a Tesla with full self-driving. That's true.
I mean, that's true. I did think about that. I did think about well, maybe I just fucking get a Tesla or get just to see what. But I would happily spend a week with any Tesla if they want to lend me a press car. Happily. Objectively, I'll fucking do everything I can to be even-handed in reviewing it. But I'm also a consumer, and I'm not giving that fucking guy a dime.
Right. There's a difference.
I'm voting with my wallet. So yeah, not doing it. Anything else on my list? Oh yeah, we got some R&T events I want to promote. You want to come drive with me? We got a few spots left for Texas Hill Country in April. Texas Hill Country is going to be awesome. It includes track time at COTA, Circuit of the Americas. It's got some great hotels. We got some great food. We got some great drinking opportunities. I have made the route, and I will be personally leading it. And I will be giving ride-alongs at COTA. Ideally in a McLaren 750 because they're based in Texas, and I'm going to try to get a car from them. So, yeah, that's the Beyond City Limits, April 7th to 10th. You do not need a special car. I mean, you should have a special car, but you don't need a exotic car. You could show up in a Corvette or a Miata or a BMW sports car. We've had GTIs. It's and the itinerary of that event is well detailed with a lot of specifics at experiences.roadandtrack.com. And so sign up for that now. Come drive with me. It's a lot of fun. Everyone who does it has a great time. And also I can Now through Westside, we can ship cars. So if you don't want to drive your car all the way down there, we can ship cars round trip to and from the event if you want to do that. And then I've worked on 2 more events for 2025. We have our new, I don't actually think it's on the website yet because it's so new. We've got the Colorado Climb. I'm actually not doing that one. That was my idea to do it, but then I can't go. So the other editors are going to be doing that one. But that one is Pikes Peak, Vail, Colorado mountain passes. It's Pikes Peak, both the International Raceway and driving up the mountain.
Sick.
It'll be really cool. And then also for 2025, we've come up with 2 other new ones. New route to Vine. Northern California, it's going to be Sonoma Raceway to Lake Tahoe, the fun way. It's basically it's a horseshoe.
I did that trip with Road and Track like 6 years ago.
It's so
awesome.
good.
Yes.
It's like Sonoma to Mendocino across the top.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
And then the other one we're going to do is so sick, the new Smoky 600, Road Atlanta, North Georgia Mountains, Cherrahola Skyway, Tail of the Dragon, Atlanta, Knoxville, Nashville. New Smoky Mountains is going to be, it's every day has the banger roads. Like day 1, racetrack, day 2, Cherrahola Skyway, day 3, Tail of the Dragon, day 4, like other super banger Smoky roads. Like it's all super banger roads. So very excited for that one. Those are going to be coming up. And I haven't made the final routes because we haven't booked the hotels yet, but that's the idea. Let's go to the Patreon. The fucking people. Let's talk to them. Of course, patreon.com/The Smoking Tire Podcast is how you get in that game. You can ask us and our guests questions. You can watch the stream live. You can get the show ahead of everybody else. You have an ad-free watching and listening experience and a whole lot more. Zach says we have some new usernames
Got
now,
some good
which
names.
is really nice. Way Bad's Rad. Way Bad's Rad. Yeah, Way Bad's Rad. Yeah, that's you. I've been seeing ads for PPF on watches. Paint protection film on watches. Is there any downside to doing this? Yes, you would be a huge pussy. Don't do this. I understand why people would want to do this, and I also see folks who wear watches and they leave the delivery plastic still on there.
That seems uncomfortable.
The only one that I think is like mildly acceptable is if you've got what they call a deployant clasp on a steel bracelet. They'll put a piece of PPF or film on the clasp because if you're typing, it gets knocked around and scratched to shit on your key. I don't because I'm not a pussy and I don't worry about wear and tear on my watches, and neither should you. But every once in a while I see these businesses pop up and they're doing PPF on the watches, and it's not a good look. Wear your watches
and also like one of my watches I looked at the other day, and the marks that were on it from wearing it were tiny, but they're not on the face. They're on like the bezel.
Yeah, they're on the metal.
So,
well, the crystal should in most watches the crystal's sapphire.
Right. So are people PPFing the crystal, or are they PPFing the whole watch?
I've seen both. I've seen a PPF on the crystal. I've seen BPF on the sides of the cases and the case back. I've seen PPF on bracelets and on deployant clasps.
But not on the face bezel part. That seems.
No, I've seen on the bezel. Yeah, I've seen.
That just seems like it would hard to stick. Wouldn't look as good.
It's just.
I don't know.
It's one of those things. It's the same thing as if you buy a car. PPFing a car is different because literally rocks are hurling at the car at 80 miles an hour. But like it's the equivalent of buying a car, and well, it's not the same as buying a car. I'm sorry, that's wrong because PPFing a car is like because of the paint. It's like the wear on your watch. It's like it's part of the watch's story, and.
It's probably just people worried about resale, right?
Pretty much.
It. So unless
it
you're
doesn't
worried
make
about
that
resale,
much of a difference.
Yeah.
Once it's used, unless it's like brand new in the box with papers, if it's used, it's in used condition. So just And oh, by the way, if you buy the right watch, you can get scratches all over it and you won't lose very much money. I mean, don't do it. Don't buy a watch. If you think you need to PPF your watch, buy a daily beater. Mm-hmm. If you're doing that much damage to your watch.
That's why I love this thing. This G-Shock, I wear it every day instead of the Weiss watch.
I'm not a pussy. I'll bang my watch and stuff. I have one watch that's gold, and gold is much softer than steel, and I don't wear that in situations where I'm going to bang it on stuff. It's not PPF'd.
Yeah. No, I get it, dude, because my gold wedding ring got nicked up real quick. Yeah. Like, shockingly quick.
You've been married a month.
I know. After the first week I looked at it, I was like, oh, my God. It's very soft.
Yeah.
But as
gold
the
is soft.
photographer assistant at my wedding pointed out, your gold watch is fake.
My gold watch is
Remember
fake?
that? Remember you were wearing that? And he was like, yeah, the question, though, is it real? And you were like, yeah, bro, it's totally fake. And then
he thought it was fake. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Habibi. Nice Cams says, Zach, in your Carbon M4 video, you mentioned the car has Sport Cup 2s, but the video shows it has Cup 2Rs, which are very different tires. Would that make a difference if the car was on the less aggressive tires from a ride fun standpoint?
Well, I think, as I said in the video, and apologies for getting those two things wrong, is that the ride would be better with a less aggressive tire like a PS4. And sure, you'd lose some grip. I don't think you'd lose that much fun.
Yeah.
You lose a little bit of cornering, sure, but for what I want from that car, PS4s would be totally fine. Now, as you experienced with your new tires on your Spider, you might experience traction control kicking on more because the Carbon M4, it's got 700 whatever horsepower. So PS4s are less grippy. But I think the trade-off, I think having a super high-powered Grand Tourer that rides the way that car did, a lot of it because of the tire, is more problematic than losing a little bit of maximum grip.
I would agree with you there. Seja Solash, at just above $40K, the GR Corolla and 18 base Caymans make for fun, small displacement dailies. Is that... Did you post that I was going to be talking about a new daily or something? Where did that come from?
No, they said, like, which would you get? And people responded. They're such different cars. They're like,
it was
Corolla.
between
it was more of like, what would you get for 40 grand?
Oh. Yeah. Well, if you need a back seat, the Cayman won't do.
Also, base Cayman is...
I probably wouldn't buy a base.
Go for S or above.
Auto Bon Jovi. That's a good name.
Isn't that a good name?
I keep seeing Rivian at the bottom of the list showing the reliability of current car manufacturers. Could this be attributed to the young age of the company and their first models bringing down the scores? Do you see them getting better as time passes? I mean, yes to both. They're a new company. Their vehicle is incredibly complex. Mm-hmm. EVs are always less reliable than gas cars, pretty much. Even though sometimes those problems are as simple as a over-the-air update or whatever. But they also have very advanced suspensions, and they have, multiple electric motors, whereas other cars may only have one electric motor. And there's a lot going on in a Rivian.
Yeah.
And I think reliability is an issue for those cars. And I haven't heard about a lot of people being stranded totally, but I've heard of shit break in them cars. Mm-hmm. But I would hope that
it's funny. It's like Kyle explained, his Cybertruck got a new motor, without to his surprise. Like I'm saying, to piggyback on your point, like these crazy powerful, complicated electric vehicles and modern vehicles that have a lot of different modern features just have a lot of small or big problems that arise.
Yeah. Levi says, I saw you were recently hanging out with Sasha Silipanov and Johnny. Yeah, me, Sasha, Ben Schaefer from Unplugged Performance, and my buddy Hydrogen Brian, we drank a lot. We fucking had a pseudo industry whiskey tasting night, and all of these guys, except me and Sasha, the other three of them are like heavy collectors, and so they each brought out like a case. So we tasted 19 whiskeys and bourbons in about 3 hours.
Could you taste the 15th by the time you got there?
I was really doing tiny little sips. And I felt so ill by the end of it. I was not like really like drunk, actually. But I just, from so much, and they don't put ice in it, they don't water it down. All this stuff was like 140 proof.
Acid reflux.
Just nasty. Some of it was amazing. Thousands of dollars a bottle and very rare, very old. Johnny had some shit that was from like fucking Prohibition. It was, and everybody brought out the heavies. So it was fun. But once we got to like 13 or 14, I was like really ready to tap out. And the other guys were like, no, we're tasting all of them. And so I felt awful afterwards, but it was a very
the line of bottles was very long.
Did you see the post?
I saw the picture, yeah.
The line of bottles.
It stretched across a whole island.
It was fucking
and this kitchen
insane.
island was big.
It was big.
It was a nice house.
It was so crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, Levi's question wants an update on the Nilu 27, which is Sasha's car. Sasha was on the show. He was the principal designer of the Lamborghini Huracan and Bugatti Chiron. Started his own company. I don't have a real update. Sasha's working on it. They apparently have an engine that runs.
I saw some promo photos going on earlier.
Yeah, it's built by a company. What's the name of the company? It starts with an H. I think it's from the UK. Hartley. Does that sound right? It's got some fucking monster, racing engine in it. What happened? We were in the wrong camera.
Tagged the wrong thing.
But I don't have a lot of other updates about the car. And actually, we spent most of our time talking about drinking and not talking about the car. But he's working on it, and he was very stressed out because it seems very hard to build a car. That seems like a tough thing, and so. But I love Sasha. He's very solid.
I can't find this.
And the other half of that question, Levi, maybe Zach knows this. It says, and the story behind ... But we're morons from some recent social posts. Is that me?
I think that was the whiskey thing.
But we're morons.
I think Johnny put up a post from your whiskey tasting that said something like, we had fun, but we're morons or something. I think that was exactly
probably
what that's from.
Because we drank 19 fucking whiskeys in one night.
I think that's what that caption was.
It must be.
Yeah.
I don't remember saying that, but if that's what Johnny said, it's because we drank 19 whiskeys in one night. It was a fucking lot of whiskey, even tiny bits at a time. Chris P. Bacon. That's a fucking good one too, isn't it? Would I be making a mistake trading in a C5 Corvette towards a new GR86 or BRZ? The Corvette feels like too much car, and I would like to have something smaller and slower. I think you have correctly identified the problem and the solution.
Yeah. I think you're getting cars that are nicer inside than the C5 by a huge margin.
Yeah.
Probably road noise is probably comparable. The cars are going to feel light, flickable, more usable space, and it takes away the power problem.
Yeah, and the dynamics of the car will be similar, just
correct.
lower. So it should be a somewhat familiar experience, front engine, rear drive kind of thing.
Yeah.
But definitely, that's a good call. Way to self-analyze and pull the ripcord on that Corvette. Bad Gardener says, what mechanical changes is Zach going to or has done to the M3? Lots of cosmetic updates. Last thing I heard you say was that you spent like $2,000 on a bolt in your rear subframe. That can't be accurate.
That wasn't, no.
That was the subframe reinforcement?
Yeah, but that was a long time ago, and that was also cheaper than that. The last thing I spent, quote, a lot of money on was $500+ to get a window regulator replaced. The only mechanical thing I'll do in 2025, is I'll probably do the rod bearings. I think if they were done a long time ago, that's too long, and if they weren't done, then borrowed time. But otherwise, I really want an intake so bad. Carbon intake sounds so good on this car.
Yeah.
But you got to tune for the thing, and you got to just the smog, and and is it worth the headache in California?
Probably not. Probably
Man,
not. Yeah.
I don't know. I can just install, because that's the thing. I can install it and remove it, no problem, once every 2 years for smog. But it's like getting the tune done for it to make it work correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway.
Does Carbon, do they do E46?
Well, they did my E46, but it was like they'll do that, but I don't think they make the intake parts for it. Yeah, the market's too small.
Joey Bag of Donuts Update on a chef's watch? Yeah, I mean that's something I threw out there. I don't think it's. I mean, it is possible, but it's certainly not cost effective. I have to say, we got a couple colors left that we'd like to release for the Notice Canyon. I think we're gonna do another watch, but I think I want to go down in price. I think I want to do like a $500, $600 watch, so more people can afford it. And we can get there without cutting too much out of the watch. Meaning, like, we could probably cut a couple $100 out of the price of the watch by going from a Swiss movement to a Seiko movement, and the user of the watch would really not know the difference. When you're selling it,
right?
But I think having a cheaper option next for more people to get in the game would be fun. So we'll see if we can do that. Okay. Do you want that one?
No.
We kind of covered that one.
Covered that.
All right. Randy, I don't know the. Wow. Okay. All right. Randy has 3 questions, and I'm going to answer the third one. What do you think of trading a Countach for a Veyron? Is that what Tyler did? Is that how he got his Veyron? Or
I don't know.
He just bought like the shittiest Veyron. Did somebody trade a Countach for a Veyron?
I'll look up Tyler's thing.
I wouldn't trade a Countach for a Veyron. There's, with respect to the Veyron and respect to those who own them and desire them, to me they're not that interesting compared to a Countach. So I'd rather have a Countach.
Looks like correct. Tyler did.
He traded his Countach for the Veyron?
Yeah.
That sounds right. And he's still got a Diablo. He's still in the V12 Lambo Club. If I owned Tyler's Countach, because his was an anniversary, I think. If I owned Tyler's Countach and Tyler's Diablo, I would probably be more likely to trade that Countach for a Veyron.
Yeah. Because you're still getting enough Lambo flavor.
Yeah.
The anniversary looks so bad, in my opinion.
It's not for me. And I know he got a great deal on it. And if that deal landed on my doorstep, I'd have bought that fucking car too. But that's not a forever car to me, an anniversary car. Prashawn, what do I think of Mayen watches? M-A-E-N. They're fine. Micro brand. I've never personally put one on, but they... I know from some other people that they make a typically high quality product. But yeah, I don't know much else about them beyond what I've seen on the internet. They seem fine. Matt's oversized dinghy. I don't have a dinghy. I have a Matt's over. Do I have something that's? I don't really have so many things. I understand the joke, but
you don't have a boat.
I don't have a boat. Could have had a boat. Don't have a boat. At what price point does a used Maserati Ghibli Trofeo make you give it a second look? They're approaching $60K now, and I have to think they're going to continue to drop. The floor of a running Maserati is $10,000.
Yeah.
So any Maserati that runs, with the exception of the, what do you call it? The one that was the Enzo.
MC12.
The MC12. With the exception of that, every other Maserati will eventually land at $10,000.
Yeah, Brian from Regular Cars, he's doing these very funny Instagram ranty posts.
Yeah, does he just sit there doing laundry and rant into
camera? He kind
of
does his same context historical comedy telling of a car, but he's on camera now.
Yeah.
But basically his thing on the Maserati was it's what poor people think millionaires and billionaires drive. And that's not what millionaires and billionaires drive.
No, it is definitely not.
It's
what sugar babies fucking and side pieces drive. A Maserati sedan is the official car of an LA side piece.
It's I don't know, man. These and we've driven Levante handled good. That had a good engine. They can be entertaining, but the depreciation is aggressive.
Yeah. I liked the little crossover.
Yeah.
I
forgot the name. We forgot the name again.
Grecale. I liked the Grecale a lot. I thought it was very impressive, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know what the deals are like on those, but that was pretty cool. Eric B. looking for a fun manual transmission dad car to fit 2 rear car seats in Michigan and replace my Magnum SRT. $60K budget. Integra Type-S seems to be the answer. Not afraid to swap tires every season. I mean, That's a great answer. You could also, I mean, depending on how old of a car you want, like a 2015 Chevy SS with mag ride and a stick.
That would be
but
so
yeah,
fun.
I mean, manual transmission sedans, very few of those out there. You've got your Civic Type R, your Integra Type-S. You've got your BMW M3, but at $60K, you're talking about used M3s.
Yeah, or like a stripped out base model. I think the base starts like 65.
Yeah, but I mean, what other stick shift sedans are left? The WRX will not do it.
I think for me, a used Chevy SS. There's probably a lot of them in Michigan. Rear-wheel drive in the snow with good tires would be awesome. You basically have an M5, but with an LS engine.
Yeah.
The Integra Type-S, though, is a phenomenal car and a more luxurious experience for sure.
Yeah. I say Pork Roll just passed his FAA exams and is now a certified airframe mechanic. Congratulations.
Cool.
That's good. Do you have a favorite type of aircraft or fun experience flying on anything in particular? Have you ever been on a fun aircraft?
Yeah, one. The carbon fiber thing I flew.
Oh yeah,
Pivotal.
the Pivotal. Yeah,
but otherwise, I am not. I don't have any experience in aircraft really outside of airlines, and for those, as long as it's comfortable, I don't care.
Yeah. Let's see. I flew on the Goodyear blimp, the old
That's
Goodyear
cool.
blimp. That was very cool.
That's super cool.
I flew in like a biplane once, which was cool. I did the wing walking thing for the back in the day.
You did?
Yeah, for the fake reality show.
For a Ford thing?
Yeah.
I didn't see that episode.
Oh,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
You do the thing where you climb up on the thing?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Is there a clip of this
Brittany
somewhere?
did it on camera, but they let the other people do it off camera.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And what other I mean, I've been privileged enough to fly in a few private jets. Those are fun in their own way, but not in like, yeah, I guess that's fun.
I mean, I flew in Micah Musio's helicopter. That was really fun.
I mean, flying, I really like when we went to Tahiti, flying in that flight from Papayete to, where we flew over Bora Bora and seeing that from the air. Stuff I've seen from the air is pretty cool.
Yeah. The inter-island flights, anywhere like Hawaii or stuff are cool because you get to see it from a obviously aerial view.
The Jag F-type press launch, we flew in a seaplane. We drove the cars south from Seattle to the Ridge Motorsports Park and then to this lake where we had lunch and got on a seaplane and they flew us back to Seattle on the seaplane.
You flew on that DHL plane.
Oh, yeah, I did. I flew on a cargo plane,
cool.
Cargo jet, yeah.
Uncomfortable, but cool.
It wasn't uncomfortable. It just thought I was getting a
Spartan,
disease. Yeah. Okay, wait a minute. There's a lot. That's all right. Maybe we can. I'll go to the next one, but maybe you can sort of break that down into its parts. Chris N said, Mark and Jack at Savage Geese love the CT5 Blackwing, but their biggest issue with the car is fake engine noise pumped through the speakers. Did you notice the same thing? Not fucking at all. There are people, Camisa is one of them. Camisa is probably the biggest one, but definitely Mark and Jack are other ones that are very, very sensitive to augmented sound and also very, very against it. I didn't notice it in the Blackwing. I don't really notice it in other cars. Granted, I don't have the best ear, even for great car stereos. Beyond a certain point, it doesn't matter anymore to me. But I didn't really hear it. If I did, I didn't really notice it.
The car's also loud.
Car's really loud.
So,
the car's really loud outside the car.
Outside the
it's
car,
not like
the
it's
car's
not
really loud.
making fucking sounds.
Yeah.
So
I guess I haven't driven that car yet.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it pairs perfectly or not.
No, I did not. I didn't notice it. I'm not surprised they did. They find something to hate about everything. Okay, D-Dubs, now abbreviated question. Budget, $25K, maybe stretched to $30. Daily driver, 50-mile round trip commute. 4 doors, adequate back seat space for running errands with older kids. I want a fun car. Okay, wait. Twisty back roads we have in a typical Midwest metro. Wife prefers a small SUV.
Said it's possible but not required, so we could go sedan.
I mean, let's see.
The Acura Integra A-Spec I drove was slow, but decently fun, and inside was really nice.
The problem with a small SUV that's 25 to 30K is if you want a fun one of those, you're talking about like a 6-year-old German.
Or a Mazda CX-3.
Yeah.
But I don't know if those are even 20. Let me see what those start at.
Yeah. Well, you could find a
CX-3 starts at 22 grand.
You could find a BMW 328D wagon, the diesel, 4-cylinder diesel, 40 miles a gallon, good chassis.
True.
Decent back seat space, SUV-like cargo compartment, good chassis. There's an X-Drive one for 4 Seasons. Still pretty sporty, still pretty fun. Vinny had that wagon. I really like that.
Yeah.
That thing, he bought that thing for $30K 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So you'd find
really
the nicest one in the world is $30K today.
And that had all the handling you want from a BMW.
Yeah,
but just
that was
way better
that was
MPG.
a F80 328D wagon M Sport. So with the M spec suspension and wheels and stuff. That was nice.
That was a great car.
I'd look for one of them and get an extended warranty. Stew Dog, watch question. Blue collar job, outdoors, indoors, rain, shine, hot, cold. I get it. You're a mailman. I sweat in the summer. Past 10 years, I've worn a G-Shock to work, but I want something a bit nicer and more sophisticated. What do you recommend? $1,200 budget. The Notice Canyon, dark blue. $1,200, you're looking at a Hamilton khaki Field. You're looking at a higher-end Seiko Diver or a Seiko sort of Presage. You're looking at, $1,200, it gets you a bunch of stuff. You're looking at like sort of entry-level Longines, Tissot. If it's me, for all that kind of, for an everyday, you're looking at a tool watch, right? A steel sports watch would be a step up from that. And there is plenty of stuff in the Seiko Orient Diver family, the Hamilton family. You could get a 1200, won't get you into a Weiss, but you could definitely buy a Notice. You could buy a Notice Canyon if you wanted one on the Jubilee bracelet. And then if you want, bands, those are easy. You buy a watch that comes on a steel bracelet, and you can get leather strap, rubber strap, nylon strap, different steel band, all the different kinds of stuff is out there. Let's see. Here for Matt's Cats, you've said before that there's a substantial discount to be had for going right-hand drive on an import. What other search advice can you offer for enthusiasts on a budget? I think basically I was talking about like Supras and stuff. The JDM version is usually cheaper because a lot of people don't want to drive right-hand side.
Or an NA Supra would be a lot cheaper.
Right. The other search advice to save money is get a convertible. You want a 911, a Corvette. Almost any car, you could take a 10% discount for buying a convertible.
Yeah, definitely. Or even more. With M3s, they're always parked facing the camera on the sell page because they don't want you to know it's a vert.
Oh, that's funny. So, there are some downsides to going to a convertible from the rigidity portion and all that, particularly with front-engine rear drive cars. But, you could save a lot of money buying the convertible version of a car.
Yeah. Also, if you go mid-tier, Radwood's really opened it up for the definition of enthusiast, I think, has expanded.
Yeah.
And people are more appreciating of cars across the spectrum, both in terms of price and performance. But, if the Civic, if Integra Type R is the best one, well, you could get an S. You could get a GSR. You could get a Civic SI instead of Type R.
Yeah.
Or the next one down. There's ways to have fun without spending all the money and getting the absolute best thing that was made, if you can.
Zuckerman, who's got a collection valued in the millions, if not 10 millions, just posted on Instagram 2 days ago. He bought a 525 BMW, and he was like, you don't need to buy the big engine to have a fun vintage experience. So, manual transmission, the car that would have been a mid-tier commuter in the early 1980s, that's an enthusiast car now.
True.
So, Joe McDonough, the Mustang GT350 is selling for under $50K now on Cars and Bids. I remember you wanted one back in 2017, and they were selling way over MSRP. Would you consider one today if you were in the market? No. Those, at the time, I wanted that car. It was 2015. It was the new hot thing. I saw that and it was an R specifically. It was a GT350R that I wanted, and I knew they were special. And I was right. Had I bought a GT350R at sticker at the time, I would have enjoyed it, driven it, done stuff with it, and probably sold it at a profit. Today, that's a different story. Those cars are out of warranty. I wanted to use one as my car. I didn't want it as like a fucking fourth car. It was literally just going to be my car. But you know, my taste has moved on since then. But they are special cars.
Yeah, they're rad.
I mean, they actually, the engine is epic, and particularly the R's are very fun to drive. But that was of a time and place, and not looking to move back there. Don't rob me. Talk about Honda and Nissan merging. I think we probably have to do some more homework. I mean, the story came out this morning that they might merge, but
right.
I haven't read anything beyond a headline. I don't know what the deal is.
Right now we could just be speculating on what would be good or bad, and who knows how divided they'll remain, who's going to make what parts for who, what's shared, what's going to be shared. Like, there's no details about that yet.
Yeah, so I genuinely don't know. I'm sure we'll be able to talk about it at some point. Okay, Jesus. Sam England, where could I get audio samples of a newer 911 I could chop up and add to some footage I shot of myself driving through the Alps? Where could he?
Audio samples
of a 911?
I mean, it depends on you could try to find a review online and grab that.
Yeah.
Go to Porsche's YouTube channel.
Yeah.
They might
put their B-roll up, right?
I don't think they put it there. You might actually. You might be able. I can't. You might be able to find it, but they don't put it on YouTube. They might put some promo things on YouTube. You can look there, but look in other places. Porsche might have B-roll around.
Okay. Michael Cosgrove, was the smoking tire merch ever stored at Matt's house? I noticed a few cat hairs on my new hoodie I ordered. No, definitely not. I hope that cat enjoyed its nap on your hoodie. Thank you for supporting us at thesmokingtireshop.com. But I'm sorry to say those cat hairs do not belong to Finn, Nikki, Cricket, or Monty.
If they did, the value of that sweatshirt would go up.
Very high. Original Monty bed hair. Here for Matt's Cats. Looking to put aftermarket wheels on my red in G70, Genesis G70, to square the stance and lose weight. I have no sense of style, and I'm panicking over colors. How do I choose? Can you look up what that color is? I mean, if it's just like the middle of the red? Middle red? Yeah, it's the red.
Yeah, it's the red G70.
Yeah, so, I mean, colors, your color choice is really two, silver or black, pretty much.
Don't get black wheels.
I would not. I think the black happens to look awful in this one.
I think it looks awful on basically every car.
Mm-hmm.
I am anti-black wheels. So this is a very subjective question for this person, but I spent a long time selecting wheels for my car because Apex makes so many different kinds. And what I did, this method is just for me, is the G70 I think is a good-looking car, and it has very like smooth, organic, roundish shapes. I would not go with a wheel that has very geometric shapes to it, like hard edges, anything that looks like zigzaggy stuff, like really busy designs, like BBS basket weave. I don't think that would look good on this, for example. But other wheels, that's just me. I think you have a clash of design language if you have like a very, same way if you put like the phone dial wheels from your car or like Mini Cooper used on a car that was very angular. I think that might look weird, but that's just me. Otherwise, it's like you got to figure out what you like.
Yeah. I mean, I lose weight. Okay, so losing weight is a good place to start, right? Yeah. So you go, okay, well, what does the stock wheel weigh, and what wheels are out there that lose weight, that are lighter? And then from there, I mean, like HRE has like a visualizer sort of tool where you could see what their wheels look like on your car. Maybe other wheel manufacturers have that too. Or just like, do me a favor, Zach, just type in Genesis G70 aftermarket wheels. Let's just see what Google images. Let's see what their AI thinks.
Yeah, let's ask ChatGPT.
Okay, let's just go to images. Let's see what looks good on the Genesis G70.
I will also say, depending on what wheels company you're looking at, hopefully they have a deep gallery of your car. Like Apex's site is great because you can choose from a bunch of car companies and they have user galleries up there.
That top left photo of the blue car looks pretty. That's a nice.
Blue on bronze.
The blue on bronze is good, but you get a different color. And I just looking at that, sort of, it's a split fork. Design with 5-star, but with a split fork.
Yeah, I like those.
That looks pretty good. You get those in the right color, that would look nice. You could do the bronze could work on red actually, but also gray.
Silver,
gray and silver works on it. Yeah,
looks really good.
Yeah, scroll down in the gallery on the left. Let's see if anything else jumps out at us. Man, a lot of people doing this black.
I would not do that.
I wouldn't either, but split fork again.
Silver. Like
those look like kind of like HRE designs. It's like a two-piece.
But it's like a 10-spoke, but they're separated wider. But
that's
like
a good
to
design.
me, this is like a roundish. It's got a lot of curve in the wheel, which I think matches the shape of the car.
Those look similar to what I have in my Porsche. Honestly, those look like they could be the HRE R101 family.
Versus like
this one's got the Voss in like an 18-spoke maybe or 16-spoke.
Yeah,
I think terrible,
weird.
but not for me. I like that first one the best.
Yeah.
That blue with the split fork, that looks really nice. Sorry if you heard my phone ringing there. But Genesis G70, underrated car. If you wanted just like
Thad just called you and now he's calling me.
Oh, if you just wanted like a nice a car, like a nice commuter car, that's a good car. Jaguar. Thoughts on Mazda's current lineup? I mean, Mazda's always been pretty underrated. I mean, there's not a lot of people that think about Mazdas and buy Mazdas, and they're often among the more dynamically better cars in their class. They're usually underpowered.
They are. But I think they also do a good job, like Hyundai does, of giving you a more luxurious experience inside in terms of like design than the price would make you think you're going to get. The reliability tends to be pretty good too.
Matt and Zach's excellent adventure. Do you think a paint-to-sample GT3 in carbon steel gray, PTS, and Special Wishes GTI tartan interior would be something people would appreciate? Thinking of it as kind of a Mark VI GTI tribute build. I'm not sure if it would be tacky or singery. I personally love the idea. Let me break this down. One, don't get a car that you think people, quote, people would appreciate.
Yeah.
Get a car that if you want your car to have elements that go back to your first car, I think that's cool.
Yes, I agree.
I'm 100% pro that. But like, if that's what you want, and if someone goes, hey, nice tartan, and you go, thanks, it's from the GTI, they go, oh, neat, and they go about their life.
Right.
And maybe it's just in the way this is written, but like, don't do anything that, quote, people would appreciate. Just forget.
Because there will always be people that won't like it or won't care. So if you're basing your excitement around this car on the response of the general public at a Cars and Coffee to always say good job, then that's just not a good way to go.
I agree. And also, it's just me talking. I am not spending $12,000 on fucking gray.
I didn't want to say it. I've said it too many times on this show.
There's no way. There's no black, silver, gray, or white that I would spend $12,000 on.
Yeah.
And thirdly, I do like, while a tartan interior is something that a lot of people do on their GT cars, and like, great, cool, love it. But how many people would see that and automatically make the association to the GTI? I think very few. If I was going to do a GTI throwback, I'd get a golf ball shift knob.
Yeah.
That would be fun. There's other things from the GTI that you could do that would be more GTI-ish.
Because, I mean, tartan is a popular inlay anyway nowadays. Like, in a lot of cars, I'm going to get one on my B-pillar. But I think that's a cool idea. I just don't rely on other people to go, this is special because it's a gray GT3.
And it's
there's
neither
a lot of them.
tacky nor... There's nothing about a gray GT3 with tartan that's singery. There's nothing related to singer there at all.
Yeah. You're ordering pepperoni pizza and going... Are people going to be okay with this?
Yeah. It's a cool car. Buy it. You like it. Great. Good for you. Do it for yourself. Nathan Reynolds always wanted an E90 M3. It's a bit too big and heavy to be a dedicated sports car or track toy, but at the same time, too maintenance intensive and finicky to be a daily driver commuter. Am I crazy?
Well, Bernu, our friend Alex Bernstein, really good photographer, he has built an E90 track car that is awesome, and based on his post, has been very reliable once he built it to that spec, and it shreds, and it's a visceral experience. It's an NA motor, it revs high, it's a cool formula. It is a big-ish, heavy-ish car, but compared to modern shit, not really. So I think you have to define what you think is light, and maintenance. Yeah, I mean that is the thing.
Yeah, I mean alternatively, you could buy a sedan with a manual transmission. And it's a, friend and kid-friendly, second car that is,
What, M3 sedan or other sedan?
No, an M3 sedan. If you buy, an E90 M3 sedan, right suspension, right wheels, couple choice mods here and there, and you've got a pretty fun weekend car that you could take to a track day or you could do, it's an M3. The thing about an M3 is that it's 7.5s across the board.
Right.
So you can then, once you buy it, you can pull this lever up and this one goes down a little bit, pull this one, and you can send the focus of the car off into any direction you want.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what's good about an M3.
I think Nathan needs to tell us what he wants because he's going, this can't be a full track car, and it's not a super commuter. Those are very different objectives for a car.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Last one, Shoonhound wants to know if I would ever dress as John Davis at a party or at Radwood.
Do it on OnlyFans.
I mean, how do you dress as John Davis specifically? I mean, just pull. I mean, I can picture John Davis just wearing fucking. He dresses like a history professor at a Northeastern university. Basically, there isn't like a John Davis. Motor Week, yeah.
Khakis and a blue jacket.
It's khakis and a blue jacket. I think if I did that, I'd have to explain to people what I was doing, and a good costume is not having.
And a good joke.
Yeah, a joke you have to explain to everybody is not a great joke. Yeah, I see where your head is at, but
this is a case of bald bias. That's what they're doing.
Yeah. But there's no dress like him. He just dresses like a fucking boomer. He dresses, pick your boomer. Fucking take his head off that photo and put my father's head on that. And it looks exactly the same.
Honestly, yeah.
Photoshop Big Raj into any of those photos and nothing else changes.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Well, we were going to go off-roading this morning. But Zach was smart enough to look at the winds and saw that it was blowing 60 up there.
I checked the weather, and it was going to be the same conditions that canceled our Mustang and Corolla review.
So Rivian was happy that we didn't take the truck to get gravel machine gunned on the mountain. We're gonna go Friday. We are still off-roading the Rivian. I am ready for it. I do, as much as I don't like all of the trappings that EVs bring on the road with the touchscreens and everything, I do love me an EV off-road. That is just great.
And that thing is a really nice daily driver. Once I figured out to set the suspension correctly.
Right. Yeah, you can't have the suspension in comfort mode at the same time the height of it is at low.
Right. It was in conserve height. Yeah. And it was just very sports car like.
It rides like it's on cut springs.
Yep. And
which it basically is.
Yeah, that's true. It is.
It's basically.
So it was a lot better. But
but they did change that because when we drove the truck 2 years ago, I was annoyed that you couldn't have it on standard ride height in conserve mode, because conserve mode is still like 500 horsepower, and for all daily driving needs, you're in conserve mode. But it set the height to low for aerodynamic reasons, which makes sense. But when you're driving around the city, the aero makes no difference, and it rides like shit.
I wish it had a setting, and they could program this in an update maybe, where it just sees what your average speed is for a certain amount of time and goes, okay, you don't need to be in low.
Yeah.
You can stay at normal ride height and be in conserve mode. I mean, now you can set it manually, but it just seems like a strange programming to it, assuming you're at 70 miles an hour.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's something with efficiency and EPA testing and whatever that would prevent the car from just choosing the appropriate mode.
Good point.
And I bet if you put it into conserve, then it default goes to the lowest mode, and you then have to click it twice to go back up. But yeah, in super soft normal height mode, it does ride quite well. It's not a Range Rover, but it's close. All right, that's our show, folks. And just as a reminder, as we approach the holiday season, we are taking the month of January off podcasting. We have never taken a break more than 1 week in 10 years doing this goddamn show. And I have a lot of travel, and Zach has travel, and so we're going to take that opportunity to recharge our brains and not freak out about creating content on like the 1 day a week I'm in Los Angeles.
It would have been nuts. Yeah.
It would have been horrible. So you guys, we appreciate you. We're still going to do the extra pro driver show for the Patreon. They're going to get their money's worth that month, and I guess kind of. We appreciate the support. We hope you understand and that you're not going to cancel your Patreon subscription because we're doing that. Other independent creators that I support on Substack and other places,
and look,
they take breaks sometimes.
Something we do that a lot of podcasts I follow don't do anymore is we haven't siloed our back catalog. A lot of shows, Jon Stewart, Mark Maron, a lot of these folks, all of their back catalog is like subscription only.
Oh.
And our stuff, like if you miss us for a month and you haven't listened to the first 980 shows, this is 981. But if you haven't listened to like the first 100 when we were in the house and it was a little untethered, like there's some really funny good guests in there. But there's there's a deep catalog for you to pull from.
Yeah. I saw Scotto at the Porsche, the PEC. I also saw Vin Inatra. I saw a bunch of people down there. It was a big event. And Scotto said, and this was a funny idea, Scotto and Vinny said that for the 1,000th episode, we should do like a 12-hour podcast. But it's tag team. So we invite our favorite people to come over.
Sure. I like that idea.
And just tap in, tap out. We'll have 4 mics going. And it's just all day, throughout the day, like 8 to 8 or 9 to 9. And we'll just fucking have people come by, tag in, do 90 minutes, do 2 hours, and just fucking send it with like 10 people.
Are we on for 12 hours and the guests rotate in, or are we letting people take over?
Well, I mean, obviously we have to get up and piss and whatever. Yeah. So but
I like this idea.
That was an interesting idea.
And if we broadcast it live on YouTube, maybe as a 1,000th celebration, that's also very good. We could do that.
Right, meaning broadcast it
publicly,
like not to Patreon.
We could try that.
Can we broadcast to 2 YouTube channels at once?
No.
Okay, so we'd have to do it to the main channel.
We'd have to do it at the main channel.
Would we do it on the main channel or do it on the
Sorry, I think we do it on the podcast.
The podcast channel, the public podcast channel.
1,000th celebration. I like that idea.
That's a good idea,
and that's better than when we did the 200th or something. We had 12 people, but they were all in the room at the same time.
Oh yeah, it was too much.
We need a scheduling system,
there would have to be some kind of scheduling system.
I'll make a Google Calendar thing that people have to have slots.
Yeah,
but I like this idea.
Yeah. We'll in our month off podcasting, one of the things we will work on is the scheduling of what happens at this 1,000th show.
Cool.
It could turn into a total.
Now we have to tell Scotto that he can only sit for 2 hours. He can't do 5.
Yeah, he can go for the record within the show. Yeah, personal record, and then So we'll have to get everybody on the same page to come through. All right, that's our show for today. Thank you, everybody. Special thanks to our patrons, and we'll see all of you next time. Bye.